Ready to go for another action-packed season of Racecraft Rallycross running. We head to the Charlotte Motor Speedway, where seasons often end, but today, where championships will be decided and the path will be charted. Hello everyone, welcome along to RaceSpotTV and to the coverage once again. Arjuna Kenkipati here alongside of Justin Prince as we get ourselves underway. And JP, we had two action-packed campaigns in 2023 of Racecraft Rallycross powered by Next Level Racing. And this year we're excited to get back to the action once again with what is a very intriguing schedule with certain fan-favorite tracks like Daytona being dropped from the mix.
Yeah, this season should be an exciting one once again, especially when it comes to the combination. People really like a lot of these circuits, but we also seen a lot of competitive racing amongst these drivers. It should be a competitive campaign is what I'm emphasizing, especially when you think about some of the layouts like Sonoma. Seen some good racing there over the years. Iowa has a unique launch track of sorts. You also talk about tracks like today with Charlotte on the docket. There's a chance for door-to-door combat amongst the pack today to start off the year.
And you talk door-to-door combat. I'm looking forward to Not Kill in a couple of weeks' time after the Easter break that we're going to have, because there's a part of that track basically where you're effectively going to have to run single file, and you talk contact inevitable in some ways. If you're new to Rallycross, well, qualifying has just gotten underway, and qualifying is important not just because it separates the drivers out into multiple different heat races where only 2 drivers will advance directly to the feature, but it pays out championship points. Third on back in the heat races go through the LCQs. Only a couple of those drivers advance to the feature, where JP, the majority of the points end up being paid out.
You obviously want to make the feature because, to put it quite politely, it's very difficult to win a championship if you don't make the feature race. So with a lot of these drivers, got to be consistent throughout the race as a whole. Qualifying is qualifying. Those heats going to be extremely critical. Being able to advance directly to feature is going to be critical. Competing for race wins in general going to be critical. We've seen this in multiple championships like World of Outlaws and the iRacing platform and more. You can't win a title if you miss 1 or 2 features in a row.
No, and let's talk a little bit about this track in particular, because one thing to note, the start slightly offset from the rest of the racing surface, and so out through Heartburn Turn will fire for the opening corner and then rejoin the racing track and dive down to meet the start-finish line where the race will actually see its end. This is only 41% tarmac, 59% dirt, so it's actually relatively high in the dirt percentage, second highest that we have on iRacing as a platform. In fact, actually the highest that we have on iRacing at a platform. The Joker, 2 to 3 seconds of it. Slower lap, JP, timing that always important to make sure you don't run into clean air, or dirty air rather, from those behind.
Yeah, especially since when you look at that track map, really you're talking about where there is the stock car pit exit when it comes to the Roval layout. You're exiting directly towards the racing line once drivers are at full assault, so you're going to have to be very careful coming out of that Joker in the first place. As well, part of that too, you've got to pick when do you want to make that move. Everyone has to make that, obviously. When's the smart time to play it at a racetrack like this with how the field can play out? There's so many questions online for today's features and starts of the season.
We'll give a big thank you once again to our partners at Next Level Racing for making this all happen. And I mentioned we're here for RX2. We've got RX1 coming up after these drivers are finished. And RX2 is about fixed setup, an introduction to the world of Rallycross, where you are actually given a bit more leeway for contact. 8 incident points allotted to you across 5-lap heats and 5-lap LCQs. We double the length for the 10-lap feature, and JP, one thing you and I were discussing just before we went live is how the track is going to evolve over the course of today's racing activities.
Yeah, especially with the more laps turned, the more this race track is going to shuffle in terms of the grip levels, but also where you really want to drive. We talked a lot, for example, about the Subarus, especially we see the World Championship level. We've seen a lot of strength for them at the ward side of the racetrack, as in the more the track gets worn in, the more we see the Subarus usually charge ahead. That's become a preferred car on the platform for that reason. Going to be fairly equal, though, as the track starts off fresh for a majority of the sessions. The race itself, though, is going to be critical to make sure you catch up with the amount of track evolution today.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the interesting thing to see how the drivers get on. You can see times on the board. It's Cody Cosgrove that's been able to fire off instantly quick with a 42.5. That's almost 3.5 tenths quicker than Tobias Holman. That's in second. Johnson, Dubois, and then Soten's through the top 5. So we've got some returning drivers, but it's a new driver, JP, that makes a statement by grabbing what should be pole position. No one else on track right now and looking to try and set a time.
Yes, it's Cody Cosgrove, one of the top drivers from SimCar. He's one of the drivers who runs in Blake Reynolds' series for Penguin RC Simulation sim racing teams. He's one of the top road course racers, known for being able to pull away in several races the past couple seasons in SimCar. Expect him to be a favorite with how he's been able to immediately adapt to the dirt.
Well, qualifying in the books for the first time this season, and already a bit of a statement made. As mentioned, we're ready to go racing, and it should be an exciting season, so stay buckled up and here live on RaceSpotTV. You'll not miss any of the action. Cody Cosgrove will lead us to the green, and of course, as we filter the drivers out into 2 different heats, he'll be alongside Greg Johnson with Rennie Soten, Andrew Howell, Sim Van Wereld, and then Corey Boudinot through the top 6. It's a big heat as well. You go down to find Cole Fisher, Owen Anderson, and then Casper Thielgaard. Rounding out the 9 drivers, 9 will enter, and JP, only 2 will advance directly to the main event.
And it's going to be extremely nerve-wracking, especially with 9 cars here. Look at the stagger start here. These drivers are going to be near perfect through the launch.
Engines rev for the first time this season. We're ready to go racing here in Racecraft Rallycross RX2, powered by Next Level Racing. We drop the clutch, we get the action underway, and it's a tidy start and an equal start through all of the drivers. Through Heartburn Turn though, around the outside, big confidence, and there's 1 car in the wall. Sim Van Wereld doesn't leave, he's buried in the tires, but it's going to be Rennie Soten that takes us across the line and to the dirt for the first time.
Just about what I expected when seeing the 3 wide in the corner. As we've already seen Star Car Racing, top burn turn usually breaks a lot of hearts. That's going to be an expectation for the heat races and the overall starts today. But already, Cosgrove has built up a solid bumper over Anderson and company. Already 4-5 car lengths and growing. Anderson and hard contact there around 5th for Fisher.
We often see drivers through the switchback hairpins run themselves into the wall, but like you mentioned, because we're really only looking at the top 2, Cosgrove may not have the lead, but he doesn't necessarily need to win. Off to the Joker. I think that was Andrew Howell. No, excuse me, that was Greg Johnson. That's decided that first time of asking, take to the Joker. And that's going to drop them back again around 2 or 3 seconds. The main thing to note as well, JP, when we talk about Joker deltas, here in RX2 where drivers are maybe a little less experienced, they may not execute the Joker as well as in RX1, where the time that the delta between a good Joker and a bad delta becomes a lot smaller.
Especially we also think about fixed setup. You're talking about basically pavement in that entire section too. It's going to be a little bit tricky to get there at full son in theory, because you're essentially having a couple braking zones in the Joker throughout the race today. Those top 2, I think, though, are thinking already try and stretch it out for now, especially with how it's gapping. Others are saying may as well take the risk, like we've seen with Howell a moment ago. Already, though, those top 2 are scrapping. Cosgrove is quicker, trying to make up for the poor launch into the opening corner.
He's going to force the issue maybe to take the Joker this time by giving just how much that he has been able to close. Here's a look, by the way, at the start. We'll check out Sim Van Wereld on the outside. Just gets a shove from behind and helped by the Ford Fiesta on his inside as well and in the wall, and not much they could do. Now as we see a bit of argy-bargy, Cosgrove doesn't even wait to get to the Joker. Soten's pushed out wide and Cosgrove to the lead.
A lot of contact between those 2, and as expected, Soten's taking that Joker in the no-control machine. Has to take it right now. He just got basically moved out of the way after the back and forth. And that's actually solid placement there. 3.2 to 3.1 seconds coming out. 2.5 seconds right now with 2 laps to go. Cosgrove's going to need to be near perfect and execute those GT skills to be able to get the good Joker this time.
But I think that's kind of what he was hoping for, is he maybe saw that Greg Johnson was closing and wanted to make sure that he'd give himself as best a chance as possible. Now, whoever wins heat number 1 will also have the best starting spot for the main event. Keep that in mind, but they are 3 wide through the opening corner. Soten's on the handbrake, and he's blown his engine as well.
Oh my goodness, a disastrous time, and he's nearly getting ran over here. Quite simply, had to think that has to be the money shift in the middle of the corner with how quick you need to go. And that opens up the door for Greg Johnson, one of the drivers who races for Team Watson, in control. And Crossroads is yet to take the Joker.
We'll have to do it this final lap by, but that seems to be a decent idea when you've got a 5-second buffer to play with. Ultimately, a money shift potentially for Rene Soten's going to deprive him of an automatic spot, but more importantly as well, you know, we talked about championship charges beginning here at Charlotte. That's points that have unfortunately been dropped from his scorecard through, unfortunately, his own fault. Cody Cosgrove, excuse me. Pole position, now the victory in heat number 1, and he'll have the best starting spot as well come the main event. He'll win and advance along with Greg Johnson. The rest have got some work to do in the LCQs.
Greg Howe, I think, is going to be in an okay position later on in this one, but for drivers like Howell, Anderson, Corey Bodenot and company, lots to get onto on the drawing board. For Sodens, though, that has to be very difficult. You're in prime position, and then all of a sudden, bam, you pop the motor coming towards 1 lap to go.
Popped a motor, popped his chance of moving on forward directly, and will now actually also start at the back of his respective LCQ, so just adds pain as well to everything that we've already talked about. We'll grab a look at the results very quickly, just confirm who is going to have to work their way forward from the LCQs. Remember, Howell on backwards have to fight their way on forward. We'll take a look at the starting grid, though, for the second and final heat, because they're already getting gridded up and ready to go. Tobias Holman in the Ford Fiesta for Sim Racing Norway is alongside Eric Dubois in the Slapex Racing powered by Team Watson Racing South. It's a great team name and a great livery as well. Trevor Thiel, Thomas Poulsen, and then Vergard Olsen, Leah, Room Andresen, and behind them it's going to be Chris Pusik, Per Hafstad, and Sergio Ferreira. Another 9 machines lined up, and once again, JP, only 2 spots in the main event up for grabs.
We've seen already how wild the initial start is. Keep an eye on that blue TWS racing machine up the middle. Here we go.
3 wide at the front once more. Eric Dubois is going to be sandwiched as we fire our way off the line and into the opening corner. Thomas Poulsen's got a great one. Behind there's contact, 2 of the Subarus into the wall. Poulsen's on the curb, he get passed around the outside, but Tobias Holman takes the Fiesta to the lead as we cross the line and to the dirt we go.
Yeah, that's called just licking the stamps and saying everybody's looking like great. Not much you can really do when you have Sergio Ferreira fly on through like that. No surprise we've seen Dubois say, you know what, I see what happened in the initial start 3 wide. I'm going to back out, avoid contact, avoid any incident points. And now he's going to have a lot of work cut out for him because that bubble spot way up the road with one of the Nitro Circus paints, Trevor Thiel, in position on the bubble.
Let's see if we can just immediately go back and check out what happened on this launch. You can just see they were almost 4 wide for a moment, and the hip check that comes here as one car just sends it deep. That's what sets everything off, and I think Chris Pusik unfortunately gets the worst of it and is now 16 seconds adrift. It is going to be Tobias Holman that leads, though, from Trevor Thiel, as you mentioned, in the Nitro Circus Sim Racing car. Team manager, and a manager I'm sure is pretty happy with everything that the team has been able to put together in the last 12 months. Not just here on the dirt side of things, but competing in the IMSA Esports Global Championship. And now, JP, a fully fledged team in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as well.
Yeah, the team dad, as he puts himself on social media, got to be very happy with the growth of the organization. As Thiel nearly getting moved out of the way by Thomas Poulsen. There's been a lot of growth in Nitro Circuits on the virtual side. They've also been picking up a lot of big names, not just those in the Coke series, of course, but getting support with drivers like former Coke racers like Reynolds to build their entire esports program, essentially the iRacing side. You could argue that they've got a lot of positive momentum, on top of course, a lot of momentum in the real world.
Absolutely. You look backwards from Thiel, gap opening up to Tobias Holman. So at this point, not sure what's going to happen as Poulsen into the wall allows those behind to just close up just that little bit more, and pressure building. Some of these drivers surely have got to think it's time to go Joker, peel off to the left-hand side. This time by, which of the drivers will do so? Thiel's the one that's holding them all up, and he'll stay on track. Poulsen will follow, interestingly. No one wants to try something different, and this is going to allow the likes of Room Andresen to try and close.
I believe Thomas Holman already used the Joker lap, so the Ford Fiesta up on the front of the field is in a very good position to advance regardless of what's happening here for second. Just has to keep it clean. Ferreira still yet to use the Joker either. Has continued to just slide further and further back after being the battering ram early. No major recovery since. Side by side for second. Once again, contact. Becoming pro, and here we go!
They got glued together and now they're pinching on one another. They're still rubbing doors on the exit, and surely at this point, if you're Thomas Paulson, you're on the left, just go to the Joker. He'll commit, and he'll have a great entry as Trevor Teal tight, and there's a car that crashed. Was that Thomas Paulson that hit the wall?
Had to have been just about contact on the inside wall. Still able to keep momentum going at the very least. No meatball flags, but we're on the final lap here. And now for the second straight race, one of the no-control machines trying to keep control of their car to try to advance.
Well, half a lap still left to go. Let's go check out the replay and see what happened. I think there was a very small tap of the wall right there, and so that's maybe going to damage the steering for Paulson. Trevor Teal has been scored as your race leader because something happened to Tobias Holman. This is craziness. This is what we're in for the rest of the season. Holman will still hold on to victory in heat number 2. He'll bring Thomas Paulson with him, I believe. It might not be that close for third. Trevor Teal, unfortunately, has got to head to an LCQ.
I wonder if there's a time we might be able to get a look at that, because I'm pretty sure Holman may have crashed, and I'm 99% sure Teal may have hit him. That might be the difference maker for Teal, because what can you do if you have the leader essentially crash? Look at this. Right in front of the track, tries to back up, and that's the difference.
It's a small margin of error here in the Rallycross realm, and unfortunately Trevor Teal is going to find himself missing out. We'll take a quick look, as I mentioned, at the results of our second heat and final heat of the day, and then we've got to go on over to one of 2 LCQ starting grids. So as mentioned, only 2 advance, Holman along with Paulson, and then in this first LCQ, Andrew Howell, Owen Anderson, Corey Boudinot, Sim van Wereld, Cole Fisher and Casper Thielgaard in the front 6. Rene Sotens has got it all to do from the back of the field, and let's not forget he started third on the outside of the front row in his respective heat, and JB had a monster launch.
Yeah, that launch was very, very strong with the outside line. I think if anything, it might be better to be the middle qualifier than be the pole sitter. That inside line just does not seem to be the preferential line just in general when it comes to the circuit. But right now, I think the pressure's going to be on, though, for a lot of these competitors here. I don't know how easy it's going to be to go from back to front. It's been tricky already. There
are 4 drivers that will advance, though, so maybe less elbows out, more just trying to stay alive. Not a great reaction in the middle in that Ford Fiesta, and it goes nowhere. Swarmed as we head down into turn number 1, and Anderson gets the elbows out and causes some contact. A couple of cars drop to the back, but leading us is going to be Andrew Howell from Casper Thielgaard, while running in third, Sim van Wereld. Rene Sotens in the top 4. Thielgaard in the wall. More chaos through the opening corner.
What was that about less craziness? I think there's double the craziness. Just from the entire field has crashed, bolted on into the wall. Only 2 drivers made it through sector 1 cleanly. Anderson and Fisher absolutely lucky, and now you have Thielgaard with massive damage somehow still amongst those running.
This is remarkable. Remember, you just have to get a top 4. Let's just look at this for a moment. He hits the wall on the right, then bounces back to the left. There's a dose of netcode. They're 4 and 5 wide, and they're stacked up, and Sim van Wereld goes up and over.
Yeah, very, very surprised the 187 still going with all the damage on the wet front suspension already, as to be expected. Many of the drivers saying, you know what, let's just take the Joker. Everything else is going wrong for everyone else. I don't want that to happen to me. Just play your guitar, play your drums, and into the wall he goes instead to play the drum.
That seemed like more of a raccoon that's bounced off the wall with tons of energy and just was able to caress it back out onto track, but Cole Fisher looks calm and focused right now despite that little bit of contact that he had. He's already taken his Joker lap, so knows that those in front still have to pay the price, but pressure building from behind, and we've already seen a lot of contact being made. Always want to make sure you've got some buffer with the incident points. Van Wereld's going to get the slide up the inside, door-to-door contact, and that's another couple of incident points added to the tally for Cole Fisher.
And a lot of aerodynamic damage to the right rear at this point. These drivers do know there are still 3 laps to go. This is an extremely chippy, and yet again, Fisher is just struggling through turn 1. He just about slapped the whole wall down. Here comes Podium.
We're taking advice from Ross Chastain, it would seem, on the handbrake for Casper Thielgaard. Not the fastest way through the corner. Van Wereld through. This is allowing potentially Corey Boudinot an optimal opportunity. Just ride behind, let them all go crazy, and then sneak on through with his Joker. Unfortunately for René Soten's, not going to see him advance out of this one, you would think, given he's now 30 seconds off of the leader and going around the track rather slowly. There's one driver that's taken to the Joker, Ovin Anderson, who emerges in front of this battle pack.
I'm going to quote Cameron Peterson as I think his joke just went mute. He was saying if you can dodge a Fiesta, you can dodge a ball. Well, if you can't dodge the Fiesta and you can't dodge a ball, then you can't dodge a wall. And right now, many of these drivers are having a hard time being able to dodge any contact. Keeping an eye for the suspension of the Subaru here, you can see just how it's trying to stick around on the racetrack with this fixed set.
At this point as well, you can see just how much the dirt is being thrown around, and there is a line being carved into that dirt where the Subarus you'd expect would potentially be just that little bit stronger. It's 9 seconds at the front that Andrew Howell leads by as he takes the white flag. To the Joker goes the likes of Van Wereld. Now, where does he emerge? Behind Fisher as expected, but in front of Boudinot. So this is the battle to get to the main event. Top 4 advance.
And we've already seen the 34 in the backdrop. Oh my goodness, hard contact again. Fisher for 3 straight laps has hit that tire barrier. This time it's cost him. And
he's out now of the top 4 transfer spots, and as Andrew Howell comes through the final couple of corners, he's probably thinking, where is everybody? This has been a very, very calm race. No one else will share that sentiment as he powers out of the final corner to win the first of the 2 LCQs up on deck. Ovin Anderson, Van Wereld look relatively comfortable to both advance. Casper Thielgaard going to be half a second or so short behind Corey Boudinot in the battle for the final transfer.
And Cole Fisher, I was wondering when that contact would have gotten too hard. Still able to slide on through despite that. In the 5th position is Thielgaard. But a lot of these drivers going to be thinking, if I minimized mistakes, I might have been able to move on. Cole Fisher, I think you have to put the star next to for that sentiment. He tried to move the tire barrier with every time he hit that wall.
An attempt was made. I'm not sure the tire barrier ended up budging. So Howell, Anderson, Van Wereld, and Boudinot confirmed moving forward. 2 no-control machines, as well as the Angelix racing car, unfortunately miss out. That's 1 LCQ done. 1 more still left to go. And this one's going to see the Nitro Circus Nitro Cross machine of Trevor Thiel lead us from the green. He'll have Room Anderson and Per Hafstad alongside. And then Eric Dubois and Chris Pissock will be on the 2nd row. Vergard Olsen Leah along with Sergio Ferreira at the very back. And again, 7 will enter JP and only 4 will advance.
And yet again, I think we already seen emphasized here. People are going to lick the stamp if you allow that chance. Already expect some big sends in the next moment or so. Here we go in a jump start.
It's not called heartburn turn for no reason. Will that be a jump start that the stewards decide is not worth a penalty? It's not Formula One, so don't know about that one. Trevor Thiel barges cars out of the way, and around goes the 298 of Anderson, does a 360 and drops to the back. But the 6 cars that started this one all fire off and through the opening corner safely.
Car 74 got a black flag from that roll before the initial start. That puts Ruzick in the bubble position. So far, much better for the 315 last time. Ruzick barely made it a corner before he started his career with some troubles. Now he's trying to hold on to the bubble with that yellow machine.
And I think the important thing here as well with that black flag for Hafstad, it means that Anderson's got to find a way forward because he needs to make sure he doesn't get detached from those that are looking to actually advance. That's why he gets physical, gets the elbows out, and forward he goes to 5th.
Yeah, and I don't blame him for just moving along, saying, this is now my battle. I have to get going. I can't afford to wait around. For Trevor Thiel, it's going well, very much so well, like a breeze. Eric Dubois, who backed out from the initial start in the 3 wide to begin his respective heat, going a lot more better in this race now that he's got some clean air and some clean space to work. Well,
runs
it
into
was.
the wall there, just to prove you wrong, JP. And then, now because he's backed into some traffic, Vergaard Olsen Lee has been shoved off and wide.
I mean, like I said, if you can't dodge a Fiesta or a ball, you can't dodge a wall. And a lot of these drivers have proven they are struggling to dodge the wall.
Battle through the Joker. Anderson and Pistol get contact. It's going to see the 315 barge down the wall. And now all going to allow Vergaard Olsen Lee back up into the transfer spot. Now again, there is still a black flag for Per Hafstad, so he's going to get an additional time penalty at the end. But if they keep running into the walls, he'll have nowhere to go. It's stricken cars in front.
Oh, and Anderson, hard contact to the tire barriers with that side-by-side door contact. This is making a lot of shuffles and shots right before that jump through towards turn 3. And already the elbows, I think at this point, just about nearly broken on some of these cars.
Yeah, this is physical, and I think the people at the front have realized that and said, you know what, I've got the space to come down and Joker, and that's exactly what Trevor Thiel has done in the number 72 machine. This time almost to the wall, but I think avoided knocking it down with the left side of his car and enjoys a 2.3 second advantage over Eric Dubois, who did get deposited just in front of Vergaard Olsen Lee. The final car yet to Joker with 2 laps still left to go.
Yeah, a little bit more calmer, albeit with everyone still trying to knock all the walls down at the same time here. I think for the 315, just make sure you limit mistakes. I think that's a comfortable spot right now. Leah, though, might be the one asterisk to the comfortable, because if there's any troubles with that 315 we've already seen, once this Joker is done alongside Leah, it could get tricky. It looks like Leah will still hold on in front. That's a big need for the Sim Racing Norway car.
Just had the margin that was needed and will hold on to third. It's going to be Room Anderson that seems like he's going to miss out of those that don't have the black flag. Of course, perhaps going to drop to the back, but here comes Trevor Thiel on the handbrake there for a moment, locked the rear tires up to make it through the left-hand hairpin. And as the track continues to evolve, he gets up into that dirt. The Subaru's coming into its own here in this RX2 land. Fixed setups across the board, but Thiel's made the most of his car. He'll come to the line victorious in LCQ number 2 and bring the 72 to the main event, but with some work to do. He'll advance along, though, with the likes of Eric Dubois, as well as Vergaard Olsen Lee, as well as you just have to wait for a little bit longer. Chris Pissop, the 4 drivers that make their way on forward.
And even with the bad troubles in the early going for Pissop, still able to get along, although he made a lot of enemies on the way to doing so. This feature race is going to be extremely wild, to say the very least. Once again, most cars throughout the entire day for this field of competitors, 12 starters in the next couple minutes. I think these drivers have to make sure they are ready for everything. 3 wide couple rows deep. I wouldn't be surprised to see quick.
Yeah, let's take a look at those race results. Trevor Thiel, Eric Dubois, and then Vergaard Olsen Lee, as well as Chris Pissok as well. 4 drivers separated by 8.5 odd seconds, and then 3 drivers not advancing. We didn't see Sergio Ferreira get underway, and so we'll see if he can re-rack and go once again in a couple of weeks' time, because we are off next Sunday for Easter. I hope everyone goes off and enjoys their time away from the sim racing world, because after that, JP, it's back to back to back. 5 consecutive weeks to determine our champion.
It's going to be pretty intense when you think about it, because you have to make sure you executed all the tracks, obviously, but also being able to steadily keep the pace up week after week after week, be able to keep up with the attempting racetracks. After all, Racecraft, you can argue, has some of the best racing drivers in all of dirt racing. This is one of the prime locations where either if you're an RX2 or especially an RX1, if you want to do well and test your skills before going to the pro level, why not race the pros in a series like Racecraft?
And of course, let's not forget, there's RX2, there's RX1, the 2 steps that allow people to first introduce themselves to the world of Rallycross, and then once they're comfortable, feel like they can dial the cars in to be that little bit faster, you can go off to the open setup. But 8 incident points, haven't seen too many drivers hit that threshold, at least so far today. But as we get ready to go for the main event, JP, we double the race length from 5 laps to 10. And at one of the longer tracks as well. These aren't short laps by any means.
Yeah, we've already seen the lap times throughout these races be about 43 seconds on the average. So you're talking about, give or take, 7.5, 8 minutes to be able to get to the race itself, not including the Joker lap factored in. With a lot of these drivers, though, door-to-door combat seems to be the name of the game to be able to get a lot of these passes done. We've had a hard time seeing some clean sliders get done into the hard braking zones.
Well, we've whittled down the field to 12 that get ready to do battle for the majority of the points on the line. It's going to be the Penguin RC car that's been sitting and waiting after grabbing the pole, able to convert to Heat 1 victory, albeit with some struggles, that will be ready to grab that optimal line potentially into turn 1. On his outside, Tobias Holman, Greg Johnson on the front row, and then Thomas Poulsen, Andrew Howell will share row number 2. Behind them, Trevor Thiel in that Nitro Cross machine as Ovin Anderson and Eric Dubois on his right side. Sim Van Wereld, Vergaard Olsen-Leah, and then Corey Boudinot and Chris Pissock make up the rest of the 12 cars that are ready to go. JP, I mean, you talk about the expectations of sliders and whatnot. Any predictions about who will come out on top?
I think Cosgrove's in a good position to be able to battle for the win. He's got some good lawn tempo and lawn pace. Wouldn't be surprised Thiel was able to sneak something out, though. Here we go.
Ready to go for the first main event of the season. Drop the clutch, 4 wide, 5 wide already. A great start from one of those no control machines. It's the 45 that launched off the line. Chaos behind though, and carnage. One car gonna go up and over. Andrew Howell finds himself at the back of the field, but out for the opening corner. Thomas Poulsen goes from 4th to 1st and leads us over the turn.
What a wild start, to say the least, but again, that's to be expected with what we've seen today. Others like Cosgrove saying, you know what, may as well keep it calm, make sure I'm not the one in the wall, just flip someone over. But a great start for Thomas Poulsen. The no control machines seem to be very well controlled, as all the controlled chaos really shuffled this front half of the field.
We'll get an update.
Oh, Cosgrove turn.
Gonna get an update if anyone goes off to the Joker this time by. There's Cody Cosgrove with a bit of an issue at the back and now having some work to do, but doesn't seem as though anyone will take to the Joker. One driver did peel off left though as we head to the line. First lap officially in the books. Andrew Howell is confirmed as being a DNF and out of this first main event of the season. Poulsen from Johnson, 1-2 with Holman behind them in 3rd, and now more trouble. Trevor Thiel's been involved.
And a lot of space needed to be able to find all Cosgrove, sending Thiel into the parking lot.
Well, we've got a car in the grandstand, and that is Trevor Thiel. I'm not quite sure how you get there, and he's not very amused about the situation either.
It doesn't look like he knows what to do. Like, how? I don't know how often you expect to get sent from the jump into the grandstand, but I think you just hit the 1 in 1,000 moment.
Well, we've seen a lot on RaceSpot. Usually it comes in Rallycross situations. That's still a first. Here's what happened at the initial start though, JP, as they just played bumper cars in front, and then Andrew Howell just bullied into the wall.
Yeah, there's just nowhere to go. He's giving space to the inside and get just doored away. Then you have Cosgrove. He's just minding his own business, but remember, to get the elbows up, you have to get the slide down into turn 5, use a bit of the bumper, and the guy says, no thank you, go to the grass. And then you have Thiel. I think this was basically part on his own. We've seen a lot of troubles on a turn 1, over speed into the corner, crash through the apex, spins him around, bounces him off one more car, and by the time he gets gathered up, everybody else joins the party.
Yeah.
He's trying to make a pass back to Cosgrove. Anderson gets to Cosgrove, and then behind that big billboard, he's sent in with the fans.
And unfortunately for Trevor Thiel, like you say, not only the initial incident was his own fault, but then the reaction in some ways as well. I'm not sure if that rejoin was as it, I mean, I know you're on the dirt, but kind of unfortunately did make it a 3 wide moment over the jump, and that's not easy for any situation. Now, we've had plenty of cars take to the Joker, not Tobias Holman though, so Thomas Poulsen is now sitting behind that Fiesta with Greg Johnson looming in the rearview mirrors. That's the real fight for the lead here, coming towards the halfway distance of this race.
Give credit to Holman. He's been the most consistent, you can now argue, out of everybody, because while he had that intense battle for a lot of time with Cosgrove, he's just been solid running well in the 233. 223 should say. But Greg Johnson, with them already taking that Joker, I'm curious where he ends up landing, because we've seen him struggle a lot short run, but pick it up a lot late with the Subaru. That seems to be happening again. 44.2 last time by, but Paulson was 4/10 quicker the previous time. Seems to be inverse this time.
Holman's just holding them up. Frustrating in some ways, yes, but it's the reality of Rallycross racing behind them. Chris Pissock and Van Wereld, plenty of damage on their respective machines, but as JP quite rightly pointed out, aren't going to be fighting for championships unless you're consistently in the features for 6 rounds in the championship. So for them, at the very least, a couple of them, of course, have to fight their way through LCQs. They put themselves in the right position, at least for the time being. Coming towards 4 to go this time by, Greg Johnson still not able to get close enough to put the pressure onto the no-control car.
Decent gap still. Trouble with the backdrop worth noting. Pissock just got turned away by the 8 machine, but outside of that, drivers are still keeping settled in. Holman seems to have put back on the afterburners. Don't know, though, if that Ford Fiesta is going to be in the spot to lead. We talked about 2 to 3 seconds, the delta. It's not big enough if you're the Fiesta. Holman needs to run away from these 2 Subarus and needs to find a way to get some time and fast.
Trouble continues for Chris Pissock as well. He's now down to the 9th spot, all as the vast majority of the points being doled out up front between 2 drivers who are really being forced to push each other to the very limits. Interesting how many of them decided to go Joker relatively early. JP, one of the unique things about Rallycross, some Jokers are a longer lap, some of them are shorter laps, and sometimes the longer laps rather, you often see drivers wait until the final lap to really take the price or the penalty.
And I don't blame Holman right now for going that direction, because look at how the Delta's treading, I should say, compared to the previous laps in Sector 1. He's gaining about a 10th or 2 per lap with how he's been able to attack that latter half of the racetrack. Some people just prefer to run on a more worn-in racetrack, especially with the groove already settled in, not as much in terms of the freshness. You have to deal with the bumps already settled in track paths. That gap right now for Holman, if he's able to get another half a second, it could be tight for that final lap Joker with where he's positioned here.
He's building the buffer, and again, that's why I was saying most drivers would want to actually wait to take it to the final lap and only pay the penalty then. Even as much as we talk about the Fiesta maybe not being as strong and as balanced in these sort of conditions, it's holding up relatively well. I think, unfortunately, Cody Grosgrove, he was having a great debut. His day has come to an end. He's going to be watching on for the final couple of laps from the side.
I think he's popped the motor from what can tell after contact to the walls based on some of the visuals. Yeah, watch this replay here. We've already seen him have a lot of damage build up. Just hit some of the rumble strips, and that sends up through a corner cut straight to a wall, blown motor directly into the fence. That's going to end your race 99 times out of 100.
Greg Johnson still trying to chase down with that gap now as we get ready to see the white flag. 1.3 between the top 2. Tobias Holman is still under pressure and hasn't opened up that margin like he would need to. He's going to need a monster middle sector here, JP, if he wants it to go his way.
Yeah, he lost 2/10 the previous time around compared to before the jump, and this is not going to help him. Contact to the wall, over rotation, he's over pushing. That's going to be costly.
And again, it's all about strategy with those Jokers. When do you want to use them? When do you think it's worth it? Thomas Poulsen, though, timed it in, maybe to some surprise, perfectly. He'll come out of the final corner, and to kick off 2024 in Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing, a pump of the fist and a win for the No Control 49.
Well done for Thomas Poulsen. Plays it near perfect throughout this race. A clean race car throughout the entire day. A sigh of relief for car 49. You have the pace and got the job done in very solid fashion. Give credit to Holman. He looks solid. If it wasn't for that final lap, I think Holman would have still at least gotten second. That hit to the wall in Sector 2 cost him.
Yeah, we'll take a look at the replay, actually, because it was such a side-by-side, nail-biting finish for him. You could see he was trying, and it was just not to be. But it's great to be able to see one of those Fords out in action and really putting the fight to the Subarus out there today. We'll make our way down to grab a look at the race results, chat to the drivers down on the podium hopefully as well, and then don't forget we've got more Rallycross action up on deck for you. Poulsen 1.2 seconds the margin of victory over Greg Johnson, and then Tobias Holman opens up the season with a podium. It's two of the Sim Racing Norway cars inside of the top four, with Vergaard Olsen Leah sitting just behind the teammate, and then Sim Van Wereld recovering to fifth in front of Corey Boudinot, while Chris Pissook, after being tagged and turned around by Van Wereld, recovering to seventh. I think Stewart's going to be busy today, and Oben Anderson, Eric Dubois, and Cody Crosgrove may end up potentially finding their way up the championship standings with penalty points if it plays out in that direction. Trevor Teal, Andrew Howell, the final two cars that made it through to the main event. And well, it's without further ado that I think, JP, we can head down to victory lane and chat with our race winner, Thomas Poulsen.
Well there. Woo! Finally! Finally!
That's the emotion that we love to hear. Thomas, I mean, talk to us about what this race victory means to you. We stuck with your camera when you came across the line. We saw the pump of the fist. We then saw the relief, and now we hear it as well.
It's unbelievable. I can't describe it with words. I had it almost at the last race of last season, and now to finally get it, and from the second row, that start, I can't believe it. And the most amazing thing about it is that I had so much I had so much fraps lagging, so I was actually I'm not thinking that I was able to fight, especially not for the win. I'm speechless. Oh my god.
Love to hear the excitement. I mean, you came close last season, but how does this now build you for the rest of what we've got coming up? We get a week off, 5 consecutive weeks after that, and I've got to ask you about the schedule, because there's a couple of tracks that when I looked at the schedule I went, wait, where's Daytona? Where are some of those tracks? What do you think about what we've got coming up?
I don't care what's coming up. I'm coming for them, and I'm coming in hot.
I love to hear it. No Control, by the way, seemed like you guys are out in force. How are you feeling going into this newest season of Racecraft, Rallycross powered by Next Level Racing?
We are very strong. We got a rookie with us this year, Casper. He's trying this for the first time, so he will just be tackling in. But this team itself, we are more than ready to take this, and we are more than ready to take the fight.
Well, Thomas, congratulations on the win. It's always great to have a winner with emotion, so I love to see it. Go and enjoy this one. What's the celebration that you'll have after this?
I think. Oh, I have a bottle of champagne. I'm gonna open that. That's for sure, and not a thing for this now.
There you go, Thomas Poulsen, your winner, and he's already got plenty of trophies behind him, JP. Despite all of that success, you could tell just how much it meant for him with the level of competition that we have here in Racecraft to come out on top.
Especially with the amount of work it takes to be able to just battle at a racetrack like this in general. We've already seen, when it comes to a track like Charlotte today, the difficulty being able to get a clean lap down, to be able to get through the laps without making significant contact on Arjuna. And today, a lot of drivers make mistakes in turn 1 and in turn 5 especially. In the end, a lot of the difference is between just making the feature came down to, did you go too strongly into turn 1? And did you hit the wall approaching turn 5 or in turn 5? If you avoided both of those issues, you did very well. And guess what? Your race winner avoided both of those issues the whole time.
That he did indeed. And the best part of that entire sequence, JP, at least in my opinion, was when I asked him about the schedule and he says, it doesn't care. I'm coming for them.
Yes, exactly. And that's the confidence of somebody who, well, hasn't seen the schedule, but 2 is the confidence of, it doesn't matter what the schedule is, you still have to perform. Even if it's the tracks they might not feel as comfortable with, it's not an excuse to say, this is the reason why you didn't lose a championship. Everybody in a championship has to race at tracks they like, love, and maybe don't like or absolutely hate. It's about getting the job done at all those types of tracks that gets that consistency you need for the championship.
And, of course, a fun schedule that does lie ahead. We're not back for next week. Again, Easter lies ahead, but we're back 2 weeks from today at Knockhill. JP, I mentioned that's a interesting Rallycross configuration. I guess it's all in the name, right? We're suggesting that drivers knock into each other.
Yeah, We've already seen them knock into each other at Charlotte, so why not at Knock Hill? It's very fitting after all. From what I've seen over the years, a little bit with Knock Hill, though, wouldn't be surprised to see tons of contact yet again with drivers knocking boots and knocking tires and knocking bumpers all into each other, especially for that second round. It is a very fun circuit for good reason.
It's a fun one, and I think we're looking forward to seeing what it will offer for the drivers in RX2. But that is all left to come, let's not forget. We've still got RX1 open setups and World Championship caliber drivers, and they're all trying to dethrone the three-time king of the RX1 category, Jacob Rafos. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more action on RaceSpotTV. RX2 done and dusted, and what great racing that we had here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Fixed setup competition with the drivers all on an equal playing field, getting the most from their machines. Now though, we turn the page. It's over to RX1, where drivers have got to get the cars dialed in and ready to go for the first of 6 rounds in 2024's first championship season. Hello everyone, welcome back to RaceSpotTV. It's still Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Justin Princeton. JP, we've had a couple of minutes to get a breath, to get ready to go once again, and now the drivers in RX1 have got the stage set for them. All eyes focus as qualifying for them gets underway.
And this is where it turns towards the open setups, being able to craft your tools, be able to craft that perfect feel of a race car, craft the race car to your preferences. And a track like Charlotte, we've already seen, going to need to be very strong once the track wears out, especially when it comes to the hard-braking turns like turn 5. To be able to execute a lot of the time, that's where a lot of time can be lost. Turn 1, you need that car to grip up. With Charlotte, we've already seen it RX2. Those could be your major chokehold points to start off for RX1 as well.
You're new to Rallycross, it all starts in qualifying as well, with championship points on the line for the top 6. From there, we split the field up into a couple of different heats. 2 drivers will advance directly from there and grab the most points with them to the feature. The rest have got to fight through the LCQs for the chance to be there where the points are paid out. We've talked about how being in the championship hunt requires consistent appearances in the features, and that is something that is going to be even more important in RX1 when Jacob Rafos has been so dominant. Here's another look at the track, though. We're here in Charlotte, the home of NASCAR, of course, and what a wonderful facility this is in many ways, JP. And we've managed to add a very fun Rallycross track to it as well.
Yeah, it's been exciting to be able to see these drivers race around a lot of the Roval layout. And keep in mind, portions of this Roval layout were initially thought about to be a part of what we see in NASCAR today, especially where you see essentially turn 4, 5 up to turn 6. Eventually they went with the short version that included that chute that many of these drivers run on, coming back towards the start and finish line. So that's an interesting tidbit to think about when it comes to some of the layout progression. It actually made it that specific layout to some of the virtual NASCAR video games on the console side for a couple of years. When it comes to the racetrack as a whole, though, we've already seen side-by-side through the jumps going to be very difficult between turn 2 and turn 3. Turn 3, the run up to turn 4 and 5, going to be critical to nail right. Turn 5, one of the main passing opportunities. Turn 1, one of the best places to crash.
Absolutely. Qualifying underway, and as it stands provisionally, Jacob Rafos sits on top, but only 86,000 to the KES Industries for entry of Evan McFarlane, who was flying in our second competitive campaign of 2023 and took the challenge to the likes of Jacob Rafos, but also to Josh Fox, who's just gone to the top in the Williams Esports car, 29 thousandths of a second, and I don't think Jacob Rafos is going to get a chance to respond.
Not a surprise to see Josh Fox immediately start off with the gauntlet. The times, by the way, as high as 4 seconds quicker and open for your top qualifiers. First of all, that's wild, but second, that again showcases what a lot of these drivers can adjust when it comes to being able to execute the speed. It's near full throttle for some of these drivers getting the car to stick in the dirt.
Yep, and they all have a lot more seat time at this level as well, right? They have experience. In the case of Fox, right, he's got setups that go back to the initial World Championship campaign now in, what was it, 2018, 2019. So years of experience that mean you don't necessarily need as much practice and time to dial yourself in. Kieran Leiflander's jumped up to 5th. Here comes, though, Paul Mikolajczyk in the Racecraft entry. Going to dive to the line. That was his second attempt. Get one more chance at it. Did find some improvement in the lap time, but he's still down in 16th and finds himself with about half a second left to find. Now, I said that Jacob Rafos may not get a chance to respond. I was wrong. Here he goes for another flyer, and he's really pushing the tempo.
Yeah, Rafos, when you have a World Championship caliber driver, I'm expecting big things. Right now, he needs just 3 100s. Let's put it politely, his friends are just in the backdrop, just casually watching along, watching the broadcast, I think, or at least a broadcast, and he's just trying to prove, oh, I can get the pole while you're chomping on down on tidbits.
No, that's definitely our broadcast, and he's hit the wall, and he has not improved. So Jacob Rafos finds himself still second, but he will line up at the front of heat number 2. There is Josh Fox, who, by the way, that is, I can confirm, a new livery for the Williams Esports car in the fact that it's an iRacing default. Williams Esports yesterday debuted their brand new liveries for 2024, JP. I don't think they've got a Rallycross version of it ready to go for today.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain if that's the case of a standard race car, that's obviously the case. And just, it's about trying to get the decals right in all your sponsors. You don't want to end up leaving the old sponsors on, then we'll just say that. But 3 full heats, just about ready to go. Let's take a look.
Let's run down towards the starting grid, where it is going to be the Pennsylvania driver, the Williams Esports driver, Josh Fox, that gets us underway. You'll have Yoni Palaneva and Josh Edmondson alongside him, while behind him, the Nitro Circus sim racing driver Connor Barry, the two-time short course champion on iRacing, will be alongside Rene Wegner. Paul Mikolajic then lines up 6 at the back. Russell Peterson in that number 59 entry. Great to see the drivers of RX1 ready to go racing once again. JP, it's been a while since we've seen them go, and I think for some of them, they've got some statements to make. Jacob Rafoss, I forget what the record was last season. I think he won all but 2 of the races that we had.
Like I said, I don't think for Fox it's going to be easy to beat all season. Fox absolutely in that same boat with how he's been at the World Championship level. But when you throw in some of the drivers from short course racing with more experience than that, I should say, in Edmondson and Barry, I think drivers like those two might have a solid output here if they can get good race pace. The race pace needs to pick up 1 second, though, compared to quality.
Quick look at our Racecraft race analysis as well, because RX1, same 5-lap heat, 5-lap LCQs, and 10-lap features. Only difference outside of open setup is the fact that they're only allowed 6 incident points. Doesn't sound like a big thing, JP, but when contact's as frequent as it is in Rallycross, those 2 incident points can be a big margin.
Yeah, that is basically, make sure you don't touch a car more than maybe once or twice. Don't hit the wall hard and break your entire suspension. You're good to go if you don't do those things. That isn't guaranteed off the start.
It's a new season of RX1. They're all hunting Jacob Rafoss, and Josh Fox has already made a statement by grabbing pole position. It's a new season, and here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, we're underway. Palaneva in the middle of the front row with a relatively poor start. He sees Connor Barry on the handbrake behind and going sideways. The 2-time champs into the wall and has to back out of it and drop to the very tail end of the field. It's Fox and then Edmondson from Palaneva. 1, 2, 3, and onto the dirt.
Almost looked like almost a mix of too much heat break, if not too much over torque going down through the gears for the initial corner run. But already to your top contenders with a click and a very fast launch. Fox and Edmondson, as expected, doing well, but keep an eye on the no control machine. We already see them do well, very well with the fixed side. Seems to be the case again in the open, and never mind, there's the wall.
These brief wall contacts, though, aren't going to necessarily cost them too much time, especially if everyone's doing them. Of course, Josh Edmondson, one that likes to ride a lot in virtual reality. Look off the back as he dives down with, I think that was Russell Peterson potentially taking to the Joker. No one else doing that on the opening lap. Connor Barry not having a great lap. He's at the very back of the field, and he's had more trouble, JP.
Yeah, that's the tough part about going towards the back of the field. Connor Barry already having the issue off the initial start, loses in the track position. Turn 5, if you go too hard and you aren't able to keep side-by-side contact, when you try and slide like that, it just whipsaws you around just like that, just the amount of momentum. It's basically, you're faster than the car on the outside, you get the bigger spin.
And when it comes to Connor Barry, he's just coming off a week where, this past Thursday in the iRacing Short Course National Series, he won their very first ever Triple Crown format event, and so maybe some of his focus was placed on preparation for that rather than preparation for this. So as Josh Edmondson now drops around 1.5 seconds off the back of Fox at the front of the field. Remember, 2 drivers will advance out of this. The rest have to go through the LCQs. We are going to see 3 full heats as well, so 6 drivers are going to advance from the respective heat races, and then only 6 will go through from 2 LCQs. So there's only 3 spots in each of those, JP. Slightly changes the math that we have to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking about essentially less opportunities for the LCQ, actually, because of that. Because the reason we've seen a little bit more coming over from those set LCQs was because you had 1 feature to less heat, should say, to work with. But already the Joker being utilized by the 31. He, mind you, was your leader in race starts in 2021 Season 4, a couple of years back in the fixed side. He's put a lot of effort, you can argue, just to get that Racecraft down, whether it's fixed, open. It takes a lot of seat time to get the runs right, to get the feel of the dirt on the sim.
And now that he's gone on the 3rd lap, you expect slight offsets to potentially put Edmondson under pressure to respond this time by. Fox is comfortable. He's not going to blink an eye. Edmondson in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine thinks that he's pretty good as well. He'll stay the course, 3.5 second the margin as they dive down towards the line, white flag in hand. One more lap in this first heat of the RX1 season.
And honestly, with the way things are looking, Fox and Edmondson are exactly where they want to be and need to be, even with the Joker to factor in. Unless Edmondson makes a major mistake right now, I think both of them are in prime position to advance. Once they finish the Joker lap here, they've just been near perfect on this corner preciseness. Look at this. Right up to the wall without touching the wall. That was what many drivers in the RX2 side struggled to do.
Well, Fox will win. We've got no doubt about that. It's who's going to advance with him. Let's watch up from above. As through the Joker, it's tidy for Edmondson, and the Nitro Circus sim racing machine doesn't have the sight of Palineva alongside. So Fox and Edmondson, the pair of Joshes, advance directly from heat number 1. And what a clean event that was, especially in contrast to some of the contact and argy-bargy that we saw across of RX2.
On the radio, that was a discussion point from some of the race control. Keeping things clean, you don't want it to be bumper cars after all. But that's to be expected with a lot of the top drivers in RX1. You need to keep it clean. You make a ton of contact, your race could be over before lap 5.
Let's take a look at those results and confirm Fox and Edmondson to move on forward. Palineva, Wegner, Russell Peterson, Paul Mikolajczyk, and Connor Barry all on the lead lap as well. So again, very, very tidy. Great to hear the warning from race control was heeded by the driver. Let's take a look though at the starting grid for the second of the 3 heats, and it's defending champion, the 3-time champion, Jacob Rafos. That's got Kieran Leiflander and Matthew Lindy making the step up from RX2 as the defending champion in the fixed series. Then you've got Kim-Andre Bjorklund, Sean Winkler, Stead Miller, and then behind them, Robbie Swan at the very back of the starting formation. Now we are ready to go racing, but unfortunately, as I think you can tell by the graphics disappearing, some slight technical issues are going to make our life a little bit more difficult for this second heat that is now underway. And in through Heartburn Turn, Jacob Rafos will lead us away.
And already Matthew Lynn just absolutely moved out of the way from the bubble spot. It looks like Leiflander trying to make sure he picks up all the land from underneath some of these drivers. There's some of this battling going on, especially for the bubble spot.
Apologies for the sound, a lack of sound that is, but again, technical issues. Live broadcasting will do it on the fly. In towards the double switchback hairpin, and a big look around the outside for the KES Industries car. Not going to get him the chance alongside. In fact, he has to go a little bit defensive to try and cover off. Looks from behind. Remember, 2 advance and already a bit of breakaway for Jacob Rafos. And Kim-Andre Bjorklund's going to see a car go around. In fact, it was Bjorklund that went up and over.
And a couple drivers crashing in the Jokers while Matthew Lind. So a lot of trouble spots happening. Was about to say, though, Leiflander seemed to be in that case where no give or take almost with how the racing was looking already. Just said, I'm here, and just turned the sim racing Norway car.
And apologies again for the technical issues. We're back full focus on this second of 3 heats that we have today. Big drama for those behind, and now Robbie Swan into the wall as well. All this as Sean Winkler puts the pressure onto Leiflander. And the great thing about Sean Winkler, we'll go take a look at his webcam as well, because I always like to talk about this. Not only is he a great competitor in the Rallycross world, if you're ever in need of a house in Washington, JP, Sean's your man.
Washington State or Washington, D.C.? That's a big distinction.
State, 425 area code, state.
Okay, great to know. Suburban or urban?
Ooh, now we're getting specific. Condominiums or housing units?
Aren't those the same thing?
I meant houses.
Oh, okay.
You're right,
you
though.
mean actual houses.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Good to know. Great to know.
We need to get all of these details figured out, and Sean Winkler's got the sign for sale over his shoulder, just so you know exactly who to call. Now, haven't seen the 20 go to the Joker just yet, but his margin to this 3rd place grouping, JP, already 5 seconds or so. I think with 2 laps left to go, top 2 looking pretty comfortable.
Same as the last one, and again, these 2 are some of the best in their craft. Rafos, World Championship racer with Nitro Circus, has that backing with Next Level Racing as well. We've talked about a little bit over the years. Leiflander, should say with the 20 machine, just keep it easy as that. He built setups for part of his income after all. You can tell with some of the logos with the Steam Setup Shop. So for a lot of drivers, this is quite simple. If you know how to build and race, you can really make the cash, and you can argue the 20 saying, I can make the feature in this. Can you?
He's looking comfortable. We'll take the white flag with margin behind as well. And again, no real battles brewing, at least right now. Robbie Swan's close to Sean Winkler, but you know, up front, it's been as easy as you'd like. And this is the thing about Jacob Rafos. Look into the eyes. JP, that's a man who's focused.
Yeah, just absolutely menacingly looking at the camera. I don't know if he realizes that's how he looks, but that's just because of the angle here. Just outright laser focused on the pace, running 40-second lap times. It's been a blast from him to be able to run away.
He never looks back from the start. He finally looks up, doesn't look so angry, and Jacob Rafos is going straight through to the main event, where he will start in the middle of the 3-wide front row. There's the look at Heartburn Turn where he'll start. There's the look at drivers coming across the line to finish heat number 2. It was decently close between Robbie Swan and Sean Winkler at the end, but ultimately that's all just for starting position when we get towards that to the LCQs that will be brewing later on. A quick look at the results out of the second heat before we can go and grab a look at the starting grid for the third and final of those initial heat races. Margin of victory, not just 3 seconds, but then 7 seconds back to third. Jacob Rafos well and truly ran away, and only 6 cars going to have to go and battle in this third and final heat. It will be Evan McFarlane, Jukka Pakala, Robbie Kirtley, Santeri Heiskanen, and then Zach Blanche and Lindsay Hobbs, rounding out the 6 cars and 2 Excalibur esports machines, and then 3 no-control esports cars. JP, Evan McFarlane's all by himself.
Yeah, right now for McFarlane, I don't think it's necessarily about the teamwork play that comes to mind. It's more so if you're no control. Which one of those team members say, okay, this is my chance to be able to move on? There's going to be a lot of talk you'd have to think if something boils over there.
A great sound as the engines sing once more, and a decent launch from the inside. Going nowhere on the outside, though, was, I think, Zach Blanche in the Subaru. Leading us out of turn 1. McFarlane, the KES Industries car, going to look to try and build his advantage. He is the favorite in this race without a shadow of a doubt. Out onto the dirt, Heiskanen, Pakala, Blanche, Kirtley, and Lindsay Hobbs might have had an issue. Drops to the tail end of his 5-car train.
Yeah, I think he had an e-brake issue and through the opening corner for what I see in the backdrop, but outside of that, it's a battle between 5 Subarus and 1 Fiesta. Thing is, sometimes it's down to driver preference, even when it comes to the racing trends on preferred speed in the car. We'll see if Zach Blanche proves that a Fiesta can survive the long run pace compared to these bigger chassis around him.
To the line, none of these drivers going to take to the Joker, and Kirtley runs just a little bit wider than you ideally want to. Let's go back and take a look at exactly what happened there, and you're right, it seems as though another driver just maybe a bit too aggressive on the handbrake, and very similar to what we saw with Connor Barry.
Yeah, just quickly, too quick on it, too quick when doing it, and it's an arc form right. You just flick it right there. Just all it does, if you're ending up going too fast, it's the same with an emergency brake. It's like as you said with the handbrake with these cars in the virtual side of the real world. It just flicks you around like nothing if you end up doing it too fast. There's a reason. On top of for racing like this, it's used a lot for drifting in terms of handbrakes.
Jukka Pakala sees Zach Blanche up the inside, and Robbie Kirtley says, let me go, Joker, while you battle door to door. They'll be wheel to wheel as well as they come back on towards the dirt. End of lap number 2 for those drivers. This is great news if you're Robbie Kirtley. He's already started to close that gap back up. The Fiestas on the inside will still have the inside as they filter over the jump. On landing, Pakala's finally through into third.
Yeah, I think Blanche almost feels held up here. You can see with just the lines trying to say, I've got to go. I've got a little bit of a nimble race car. Going to try and poke it around. Just trying to get that preferred groove for the exit. The problem is right now, we've already seen inside groove, turn 5. Anyone who's gone on the send has absolutely moved them on through. As you just said, though, one of the air no control machines in Kirtley, this is going perfectly because gets himself out of the battle, gets himself away from side by side, and now jump Blanche because of how much Blanche himself, or they can crash themselves.
And now Blanche into the wall after Kirtley hit it first. The Fiesta gets the worst of it, and on the landing on the jump, Kirtley makes an almost mess of that as well. I mean, none of this is, again, for spots inside of the main event, but it goes to show just how hard they're having to fight.
Yeah, this is not looking well for a couple of these drivers with the fight. It's almost too heavy of a fight. As in, you cost yourself so much time and all of a sudden the transfer position's up by 3 seconds. Right now, a lot of hope if you're Pakala to be able to see if there's any mistakes from this 57 on the final lap.
Here comes your race leader, though, as they do fight for third and fourth position. McFarlane, as well as Heiskanen. Cars looking factory fresh, and drivers that will also be fresh heading in towards the main event and starting in third and sixth, respectively. Remember, 3 heats, 2 drivers advance from each of them. 6 drivers in total to make it through from the LCQs that are only moments away. Final couple of corners, Pakala and Kirtley keeping each other honest all the way to the very end, but it is Evan McFarlane, the KES Industries 04, that rounds through the Joker, dives down towards the line and wins the heat number 3 and advances to the main event.
As we expected, though, Heiskanen well and truly advances by a good couple seconds. That battle for third position really cost Pakala, Kirtley, and Blanche at least a couple seconds lost. Well, Blanche lost a lot more time with the wall than the battle.
You see the final 2 drivers come across the line. We'll take a look at those results because, well, these drivers know now where they're being sorted, either into the main event or into one of 2 LCQs where they're getting ready to go racing, and some strong names. McFarlane, Heiskanen forward, but no control, and Excalibur Esports going to be watching on with a lot of focus as we go racing. Palaneva and Pakala, along with Robbie Swan, will be on the front row. Russell Peters and Zach Blanche behind them, and then Kim-Andre Bjorklund. And a bit of a surprise, the Connor Barry has had some success in the past in RX2, champion back in 2022 Season 1, having some work to do from the very back. 7 will enter, 3 will advance, and as we were mentioning, JP, 1 less than we saw in RX2.
Yeah, I think I'm expecting a lot more from Connor Barry, especially from the mistake with the handbrake initially off the launch that put him on the back foot from the last one. This one, you have to be able to get the positive vibes through. Here we go.
Engines build once more. 7 enter, 3 advance, and the pressure is on for 5 laps of racing action. LCQ1 is go. A good jump from the outside of the front row. Inside of the front row, Palaneva gets swarmed. He's already down to almost 4th. Spin in the background. Robbie Swan potentially got mixed up for a second, but it's Bjorklund and Blanche that really get the worst of it. Pakala, Swan, Palaneva, 1, 2, 3, and Connor Barry sits behind them.
4 starts for Peterson and Blanche. They need a lot more to happen if they want any hope to advance. Right now, though, teamwork if you're part of no control. 2 of the 3 spots controlled by those cars. Connor Barry seems in prime position to try and pounce and make up for his mistakes. Just getting close to these walls, almost too close on some of these sends.
I love these onboard perspectives. Connor Barry does make a little bit of contact, but that was already after Robbie Swan got escorted out wide. He's down to 4th position. Will take to the Joker, try and minimize the bleeding after he got bundled down from 2nd position to 4th through a couple of corners. And he's going to feed out in front of Zach Blanche with some clean air to work with.
Not a surprise for Swan because he nearly got moved out of the way there by Barry. May as well just try and get clean laps, try to reel in the group before they have to take their respective Jokers. Speaking of that battle amongst those second, though, we still have Yoni Iva looking very good. I've seen a lot of good handling from the no control machines in particular that are able to run high side through 4, run low side to be able to try and change up the lines for turn 5. They've got the adaptability in those no control cars.
Interesting that Palaneva decides that he doesn't want to sit behind his teammate and decides that's Joker on the 2nd of the 5 laps. He might end up coming alongside Robbie Swan, but in fact actually ends up just in front. So he covers that margin, and maybe that's what he was thinking about. Leaves Pakala and Barry now to push the tempo out front. And I'll just reiterate, if you're new to Rallycross racing, top 3 will advance, but every position that you gain gives you slightly better starting spots in that main event. So you may think you just need to be top 3. Knowing that passing may be difficult, JP, you want to start up and maybe as high in 7th if you win this race.
Yeah, you don't want to be the 3rd, 4th row. It's a couple drivers said even the 2nd row is challenging to be able to win from because of how much traffic you have to pass from the 2nd row. Initially in the start at first, and also we've already seen people in the 3rd row and 4th row get absolutely pummeled into the tire barrier. I will say this, though, keep an eye on some of these battles with 2 laps to go. Robbie Swan is starting to fall apart. These two are going to have a very tight battle, at least for the second spot, maybe, once they take the Joker.
I'm more concerned that Joni Palaneva is actually really bridging that margin. We said it was between 2 or 3 seconds, depending on how well you execute it. That buffer's chopping and changing as low as 2 seconds, as high as 2.5. Now, does Pakula go? Barry goes in his CBR entry, Nitro Circus sim racing car, flicks it back to the right, and now as he transitions down the hill onto the dirt, Palaneva's already in front of him, and by around half a second or so. Connor Barry was 8/10 off the back of Jukka Pakula. It might still be a no control 1 and 2 at the end of this one, JP, but in which order will it be?
That's the big question. I think Palaneva is in the prime position because he was chipping away the gap right before that choice for Connor Barry to go down to the Joker. That kind of confirmed it with Barry shuffling behind. I think the 92 needs to be absolutely flying to be able to truly get in front here. This is going to be close, though. It's still 2.5 seconds for the Joker.
Keep an eye on Palaneva as we also watch Pakula round through the Joker very tentatively. Neck and neck. Oh, photo finish. Thousandths between them at the line. And I don't quite know who it was. 38 thousandths. Joni Palaneva comes out on top.
That was razor thin. And if you kept an eye on what the 92 did there in the final part of the Joker, just outright flat-footed it, nearly drifted his way into his teammate trying to get that win. That's how much he needed to push just to get the photo finish.
Look at the results, and then we'll get ready to go for the second of those LCQs. Palaneva, Pakula, Barry do enough to not be watching on from the sidelines, but the rest will have to wait and see how it goes in the first main event. Winkler, Wegner, Kirtley, front row of LCQ2 with Miller and Mikolajczyk behind them, and then Lindsay Hobbs along with Matthew Lindy. The 7 cars that battle once again with 3 spots on the line. We've learned a little bit, I think, about how these LCQs are going to play out. Just waiting now for Sean Winkler in that Racecraft car to deposit himself onto the grid and for us to get underway. Was that less physical than you expected, JP?
A little bit. There is a warning about getting a clean start here. 3 wide of the front row. Here we go.
Once again, those engines build. 5 laps put onto the board for the final time today. 7 enter, 3 leave as main event spot recipients. Winkler doesn't get away well. We'll have to try and challenge out through the final couple of turns on the regular course. He tags Kirtley. We got a track blocker. Winkler's in the wall. He's taken one of the Racecraft cars with him as well. Mikolajczyk's also doing a move that Travis Pastrana would approve of. Would not approve, though, of the fact that they've dropped to the back of the field.
And they're still having... Well, that race control warning to have a clean restart / start of this one went very well, did it not? Matthew Lindo having a much cleaner run. Despite all the contact, he was near destroyed to the Joker in the last heat he ran. Lindsay Hobbs also in that same boat. And now he's got to hold off his teammate in a Fiesta. The Subarus, though, have had the supremacy.
Oh.
That is not going well for Mikolajczyk, the Racecraft Academy car.
No, Mikolajczyk and Winkler, teammates tagging with one another. Not sure that's ideal as Lindy does not Joker. Seems as though both Lindsay Hobbs and Stead Miller elected, though, to take the 2 to 3 second penalty on the first time of asking. So Wegner and Lindy 1 and 2. Hobbs and Miller 3 and 4. And then, let's be honest, everyone else a world away from contention here.
Very good start for a lot of these drivers that, you know, didn't get turned into the wall, but let's see here. Again, race control just before they launch said, keep in mind that you're 3 wide. Remember, there are cars around you. Give a little bit of space. Well, they gave space until, you know, 5 seconds after the message, and then it becomes ping pong, 3 wide. 3 wide in that section is hard. It's a hard, Juna. Going side by side usually leads door-to-door contact. That time, just one driver turned around 2 competitors and ended up wrecking himself and 2 others.
And so that moment with the Racecraft teammates was maybe not really avoidable. What was the second moment that happened on the opening lap? Just keep an eye, by the way, bottom corner of your screen, Lindy and Wegner still very close together with Lindy yet to come down to the Joker. Ooh, Winkler lost it by himself, and then Mikolajczyk came onto the scene with no time to respond.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to really say outside of Mikolajczyk also amongst those known for coming over from the Nitro Circus side to race in Sim Car in the past year too. That's in the road course series we talked about a little bit earlier. We've seen a lot of competitors like Crossgrove compete well in. Mikołajczyk has had some interesting moments. That almost rings true to the sim-car experience of the past year, unfortunately for him.
Well, it's not good when your road racing and your dirt road racing align in terms of experiences, I guess, but I guess you learn through all of that. Lindy with that Joker, by the way, still emerges in second in front of Lindsay Hobbs, and so instead Miller is going to potentially just miss out. We're going to see the white flag out this time by. Wegner's going to have a comfortable lead, and all the contenders have already taken their Joker opportunities.
It's wild, even though a good half of the field crashed, the race went very, very quickly. 42-second lap times for Wagner. I think still, if Wagner's able to survive the initial start, we might see drivers like the 7 machine be able to pick up at least a mid-pack run. And what happened to Lynn? He was running second and no longer is in the transfer spots.
And on his step up to the RX1 class as a full season competitor, another mistake potentially there has seen Matthew Lindy drop from contention to make it to a main event. Rennie Wegner's going to come out of the final corner though to grab the victory in the second LCQ. This is what happened to the KES Industries car though. It's another mistake out through turns 1 and 2.
And he just straight up angled it directly into the wall. I'm not sure what else to really say outside of just flicked it early and wrecked himself out of a transfer.
Wagner, Hobbs and Miller, they do enough to transfer. Lindy comes to the line. I'm sure is going to be slightly frustrated, as will Sean Winkler, Paul Mikołajczyk and Robbie Kirtley. That though is the main grid sorted. 12 drivers have been left standing with points up for grabs. And now we'll see who starts the season off on top to try and stop Jacob Rafos from making it a 4th championship in a row. Mikołajczyk across the line. That means that we can grab a look at those results, and the drivers now a few moments of a rest before they get gridded up for the main event. There are the gaps through the field. Wagner, the only car that, let's be honest, didn't really have too much issues outside of being tagged on the initial start and having a bit of a sideways moment. We say goodbye to Lindy, Winkler, Mikołajczyk, and to Kirtley. We've learned a lot, I think, JP, haven't we? I wonder what the drivers who've been watching on since their heat races have learned.
I know Josh Edmondson's amongst those probably keeping an eye on things because he's amongst those believing the race control side. Main thought is it's going to be important to survive that initial turn. A lot of drivers having some heartburn, and a lot of others in practice are having grip rolls, so you better make sure you don't do that. Outside of that, in terms of what they've learned so far, Josh Fox, extremely fast. Foss, extremely fast. Going to be very difficult to beat those two.
Yeah. I think Evan McFarlane outside of the front row. What did we see from Thomas Poulsen in the RX2? Around the outside, confidence saw him take the lead, and I don't think he quite believed that he was going to be able to do that and pull it off with the same impact as well. I guess for the drivers in the first heats as well, especially in the case of Fox and company, the track's probably changed and evolved quite a bit, and even with your experience, JP, this warm-up session, 2 minutes to go out on track, throw a couple of laps around and figure out how the dirt's all moved around. It's a relatively important tool.
Yeah, I was going to say, one thing I've noticed in track conditions throughout the day, warm-up cleans the racetrack. So this is important time to be able to expand some of that grip, especially with these Subarus. Was a lot more wider the later the heats went. You can see where the grip strips essentially are at when you're in these dirt sections. It's basically a car length wide. When it became very used throughout the heat races, it became up to 3 lanes wide. Gonna have to make sure you avoid some of the slick. A lot of these drivers making sure they keep out of the wet stuff to make sure they maximize some of the speed I've noticed throughout the day.
Yeah, fortunately we're not having to deal with rain here today. Yesterday, iRacing Sebring 12 hours powered by VCO. That was a trip and a journey into the unknown. This is a little bit more familiar though for the drivers, and they are ready to go. Main event time for the first time this season, and boy, what a season in store. They're all chasing Jacob Rafos, and Josh Fox has been able to get it sorted in qualifying, sorted in heat number 1, to be on the inside of the 3-wide front formation. Jacob Rafos and Evan McFarlane also on the front row, with Edmondson and Leiflander behind them, and Heiskanen, the final driver that advanced directly from those heats. Palineva, Wagner, Pakula, Hobbs, Barry, and Miller. 6 drivers that had to fight their way back into contention, and now line up at the very back. We've seen plenty of chaotic starts. JP, expectations as we're ready to go.
a bonanza-style start, to say the very least. That land rush up into Tom's Heartburn turn, going to be extremely wild here. Expecting, though, then Rafos and Fox to have an absolute battle.
Let's get the action going. Main event time. A new champion to be crowned, and the action underway. Great jump from Fox and Rafos in the front row to lead us through Heartburn turn. McFarlane tags the back of Jacob Rafos, causes a concertina. One car around. Lifelander, I believe, the one that's been mixed up, unfortunately, but no one else got tangled up. Out through the dirt. It's Fox that leads from Rafos, though. My goodness, what a start.
Long motor for the 20, already significant damage for them. Believe Hobbs and Miller also collected. Outside of that, clean launch for your front runners. And now the pressure is indeed on if you're the 12 and the 13. This expects to be a dogfight. These two in the practice race before tonight's racing action. We're going back and forth, door-to-door racing. Now they're going door-to-door to start the lap.
Through the final corner. No chance Fox goes Joker for the first time of asking. They'll be side by side on the run to the line. We saw a photo finish in one of the LCQs. Great racing, great respect shown between the two of them. Fox trying to cut back underneath, but slides into the right rear quarter panel. Edmondson's there and lurking as well. 3 cars separated by less than half a second.
And Edmondson just has to wait in the popcorn seat, wait to see if anything boils over, wait to see if the popcorn falls onto the floor here amongst these two. These two have been aggressive all throughout the day today. I've noticed they were not afraid to go door-to-door combat. They're going door-to-door again. You're running each other over in the corner.
We've got 4 cars separated by a second, 5 by 1.5. At some point, one of these cars may think, let's go Joker. It's not Edmondson that thinks that just yet, though. Great to be able to look on board with these drivers, see their reaction, and in a lot of cases, not much intensity. They're calm, they're cool, they're collected. They recognize what's going on. There have been some more dramas down the back, though, not just Lifelander and Hobbs now getting tangled up, but I believe a couple more drivers sliding to the back of the field. Not seeing a breakaway just yet, though, JP.
Well, that's mainly because these two are going back and forth. Neil and Ton just battling aggressively here. The one thing I did note, after things calmed down to the battling in the practice race earlier today, Rafos was better long run in the final laps. That seems to be following the trend. Now that it's calmed down, he's starting to really pull away.
Already. Now 3 laps into this one, and Rafos has been given that chance to open up the gap. At this point, there's no one that can really Joker and take advantage, knowing that it's a gain, of course. If he's pulling away, that's where the Joker Delta being a negative, a shorter lap, comes into play. Something we will talk about later on this season. Take a look at the replay, JP. Turn number 1.
Yeah, just right there. That is, again, off the 20 straight across the track after a lot of bumping and banging. Nowhere for Hobbs to go as the car lands in his lap. Lander trying to basically drift it, save it, just ping-ponged off one wall, ping-ponged off another. And that's one of the worst nightmares when it comes to this racetrack. If there's an incident in that initial part of the complex for the Roval here at Charlotte, you're a goner for a bit. Let's see how some of the cameras look.
Evan McFarlane, the first to Joker, then from the front, but the problem is he slots in behind Connor Barry. Loses a couple of tenths of a second already, has got to find a way past that number 2 machine, and sooner rather than later, this is the danger when you Joker, and you Joker in a race that hasn't separated out just yet, but McFarlane knew that he wanted to try something different.
Yeah, and so far from McFarlane, still being amongst the first of the Jokers. Here's the problem. He's in the heart of a lot of battle packs, and that's not going to really help him as a whole. When he's got a lot of cars to deal with in terms of the battling as a whole, that's actually going to possibly hold him up here the more he tries to fight. One thing I've noticed, though, as this race has gone on, clean car for Rafos, damage on Fox. I'm curious if the damage is going to be a factor for some of these drivers now, especially with the turtles we already seen earlier hurt drivers in the heats.
Yeah, and for Josh Fox as well, you have to consider if that damage was caused when he ran into the back of Rafos after the move was made. See, these drivers still keeping each other close. McFarlane has not been able to get the move done, so his early Joker, if anything, hasn't worked out the way that he would have wanted. You can see there's some damage on the left rear for Jacob Rafos, but you know, these cars, as long as you don't damage the steering, they're relatively okay. That big damage on the left front, though, that's where the concern may be that JP mentioned. One more driver off to the Joker. This time, it's Santeri Heiskanen.
Yeah, that was around that battle pack we're just talking about that was holding up drivers like McFarlane. don't blame him for trying to be able to sort things out, get it dealt with just past halfway already, down to just 4 laps to go here. Talking about Connor Berry, though. Good recovery from what we were expecting on speed earlier. He's done much better this race, already up 7, but he's still yet to take that Joker. That right now would still put him at least 4 spots up from his starting position.
Ooh, McFarlane out wide. I mean, Connor Barry's done a great job of just placing his car in places that the KES Industries machine would like to be. Now that's Edmondson slow. Has he picked up a slowdown somewhere? What's gone on with him?
Not quite sure, because it wouldn't make sense the slowdown part outside of him really cutting parts of the racetrack. As I've said, that run out of turn 3, keep an eye on this exit here. You go wide along the blue and white spacing. There are huge turtles. You hit those, causes damage. He had a turtle on the right side of the corner, had to take the left side of the track to avoid the turtles, and that must be where the slowdown is, because technically you'd be cutting the course because you cut the method known for slowing down the course there.
Yeah, just watch here where he comes to a complete stop, doesn't want to risk that being any more of a penalty. Now Edmondson goes Joker on his own, so any chance of that Nitro Circus machine coming out on top, unfortunately, Hope's dash. Now, Josh Fox has elected to Joker. We've got 2 laps left to go, but the margin, 5 seconds. We know the Joker delta's around 2 or 3. Jacob Foss isn't making a mistake that big.
Yeah, he is not sliding too bad. He is just sticking the car near perfect. Exactly how the testing looked earlier on in today. He was looking to be potentially one of the 2 drivers to beat. He proved why he is not going to be easy to pass throughout the rest of the season. White flag.
1 more lap for him to hold on. We'll keep an eye on those fighting in the back of the pack, because not everyone has jokered, and so Connor Barry as well is in a rather dangerous position. Evan McFarlane should take the podium away from him, but what will happen outside of that?
That's a huge question. We've already seen McFarlane get held up a touch bit, but even then, easily can make a pass through the Joker section. Needs to be just essentially very smart on this. Make sure he doesn't play too much here if he gets too close to Barry in this final sector here. And make sure that 31 doesn't close, as Foss just about done.
And, well, he's the one they're all chasing down. He was beaten in qualifying, but the 3-time king is back on top. Jacob Foss wins at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The champion kicks off his title defense with another win on the board.
Well done and well dominated. As why not check in with your friend in the backdrop to ask, how did you like to see me dominate?
Looks like they're having a nice little conflab about everything that went on. He'll come and hopefully have a chat with us as well. Rest of the drivers just finish up this race. Connor Barry did end up dropping back as expected with his Joker. We'll look at the results and then we'll go and chat to the drivers. Margin of victory though, 3 full seconds at the end for Foss over Fox, and maybe some damage. We'll have to chat to them and figure it out. McFarlane, that KES Industries car, call to Joker maybe didn't work the way that it was intended, but McFarlane's going to be here and be here to be counted for the rest of the season. Palaneva, the best of the no control cars, and then Barry and Edmondson, 2 of the Nitro Circus sim racing machines, 5th and 6th. Heiskanen, Pakala, Wegner, and Miller round out your top 10, and then you get down to, well, more of those in troubles. Kieran Leiflander and then Lindsay Hobbs. 12 cars saw the green, and a couple got involved right off the start with major dramas. JP, your first time joining us here in the Racecraft Rallycross world. I know you've commentated on plenty of dirt racing, including the likes of the World of Outlaws. What did you think about our fun?
I think the top drivers absolutely showcase why they're the top drivers, right? There's a reason Foss and Fox are among some of the top 5 in all of this side of the platform when it comes to the World Championship races. Those 2 had lightning fast pace all day, and it just became the difference of not just setup, I think, but just the difference of keeping the car clean versus having even a minor mistake build up and just impact the car for the long term. Foss proved today he was the car to beat all throughout with that rapid pace long run.
Still waiting to see if we can catch up with your event winner. So in the meantime, let's go ahead and reverse order, go through the podium. Let's start with Evan McFarlane. Evan, great to have you back in the RX1 world, but talk to me a little bit about the call to come down in Joker. Don't think it exactly worked the way you thought it would.
Yeah, I wanted a Joker earlier, but like it was just a train of cars, and I saw like the gap behind us, like everyone was in a row, so I mean, it was really tough to Joker, and I just didn't know when, like it was so close in front of me, I just did not know when to Joker. So I mean, I tried to Joker, but you know, I got a little bit timed, like I got held up a little bit by Josh there, I think, and barely came out behind Connor, and I think they did some team strategy, and I mean, like, yeah, they were really good, like, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I just got held behind Connor, I think, a little bit, and that costed me some time, so yeah.
I asked some of the RX2 drivers about the schedule. I've noticed we've got no Daytona. There's some interesting choices there. Talk to us a little bit about what you think about what we've got in the 6-round season.
So Charlotte, I hate this track, I'm gonna be honest. It's my worst track, and I'm happy. I think I could have done a better time at quali, but Knock Hill, I'm really looking forward to in Iowa because I've both the all-time world records there for qualifying. So I'm looking forward to that. Atlanta's, it's an alright track for me. I'm not the most consistent, but Brands Hatch is gonna be really fun. I'm pretty faster, but Voss is super faster. Like he's insanely fast. So I guess we'll see what happens. And Sonoma is like a track everyone's good at, so it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be a lot of good racing there, so I'm looking forward to the schedule. I'm hoping to have some good results in the next 2 weeks, so I guess we'll see what happens.
Well, get a couple of weeks away. We'll see you in 2 weeks with round number 2. Thanks for joining us, Evan, and congratulations on 3rd.
Yeah, I'd like to thank KS Industries, True Speed, Fluid Logic, Lilin, Marwin Sports, Matthew Lindy. I mean, he kind of messed up in the LCQ there, but you know, he's a good kid. He's really fast. You know, I'm happy to see him improve. And Robbie LaReal for being a great mentor, Mario Bafonte Jr., all the guys at KAS, and my mom, my dad, and the Lord above for, you know, always keeping me strong. And but yeah, that's about it.
Evan McFarlane joins us, and now JP's catching up with Josh Fox.
Yes, indeed, Josh. First things first, what happened with the car? Because it seemed you were keeping close pace, and then it almost looked like the rapid pace fell off after, I think you hit one of the turtles.
Yeah, no damage or anything, but to go behind the scenes a little bit, I went to work over the off season a little bit on some setup changes for pretty much the midway point of the feature to the end of the races, because that's where I felt like I missed out a lot last year, and seems still to be the case today, so got to do a little more work. But I think it also was a lot of mistakes on my part. There was one corner I don't think I hit right at all one time in the race, so yeah, tough to come back from that, but looking forward to some good battles the rest of the season.
Did notice that as well in the test race that happened prior to the start of the session earlier today. Now, when it comes to the schedule itself as well, one thing to ask about your thoughts on it, because Arjuna has mentioned already no Daytona. Charlotte, of course, an interesting choice to start. Knock Hill up next. What are your thoughts on this campaign season layout for the various races on the schedule?
I think the Racecraft guys listen to the community a lot. It's not just a closed door type of process when it comes to the schedule, and I think every season gives them a chance to refine it a little further. I think we got a lot of tracks with a lot of character this season, and I think that gives some of the best racing, so really looking forward to it.
So real quickly, when it comes to Knock Hill up next, what do you feel you need to be able to adjust, whether it's driver mindset or whether it's the setup side, to be able to get that mid to long run pace to go toe-to-toe with the 13 next time?
Don't fool myself so much with the fresh track lap times and the heat race pace so much, and maybe take a bigger swing for the feature, because I don't think I've made big enough changes from those, and I think I've got those pretty well under control. So yeah, we'll go to work and see how it goes next week.
Let you get back to the shop and let you get the livery all set up. After all, I believe Williams Esports did unveil its new livery design for 2024. We'll let you get to work on that too.
Yeah, thankfully not a lot of work for me there, but definitely looking forward to getting that sweet new scheme up on the Subaru in this series here. And before I head out, definitely got to shout out Williams Esports and the Academy, Komatsu, Duracell, Gulf Oil, My Protein, Chill Blast, BenQ, Fanatec, Playseat, and Riccar Automotive.
Thank you very much for your time, Josh.
Thanks.
Josh Fox coming away second, Arjuna.
And so from Josh Fox, we can finally catch up with your race winner once again, Jacob Rafoss. Jacob, talk to us about being back in Racecraft and how that fight in the feature went. Had to get your way back to the front and never looked back after that.
Yeah, I mean, it was like probably the hardest fight that I've ever had in Racecraft. It's like Josh had a good start and we went racing, and yeah, after lap 2 I think lap 1 I think I got through him, and it was a good fight. We had a great fight and I think we got a little show on there.
It was a good show for us, that was for sure. I mean, it's been a while, I think, for many people, especially your World Championship driver, since you went and you talked about the setups that you were running. We were just chatting with Josh. He said that one of the things that he did in the off-season was went to go and work on the setups. I've got to ask you, have you worked in your setups at all since the last season?
Yeah, I mean, I always use the same setup as I've had. I think this is from 2021, so since Rallycross hasn't updated much, but yeah, I mean some perfect changes, but not like that much. But yeah, we have some changes, but it's not like that. Rallycross updates much more in iRacing, so I usually run the same setup every time.
Interesting to hear. Of course, you're so busy with the short course stuff. And it seems as though you've got some people over your shoulder. I've got to ask you, when I used to drive, I always used to get very distracted. Did you not get distracted by your friends and family?
I didn't get distracted by anything, but yeah, I mean, I saw on the camera that I was doing some stuff, I don't know, but yeah.
Jacob, always great to have you. Thanks for joining us once again on the broadcast, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time in Racecraft Rallycross.
Thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to Sim Magic, Next Level Racing, Nitrogen Simulation Team, and Sim Racing Guys. And yeah, that's it.
Calm, cool, collected, Jacob Rafoss joins us once more and as a winner in the Racecraft Rallycross world. It's great to be back. It feels like ages since we had Rallycross on RaceSpot. It's only been a couple of months, if we're being honest, though. And 2 weeks before we get to do it again. And Evan McFarlane sounds quite excited for Knockhill, JP. I'm glad, because I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the tracks referred to or running by Josh Fox to have character, because you're talking about a fair amount of elevation change. It's a decent amount of size, nearly a full mile, mind you, just a couple tenths of a mile bigger than Charlotte. But also, you're talking about the Joker going in towards that hard-braking triangle portion of the racetrack. That's going to be, I think, for many drivers, not just the simple quick brake, quick cut through the pit road entry / exit at Charlotte Roval's layout. It's about trying to make sure you don't overcook in the brakes and wreck it in the bus, or rather, wreck it in the Joker.
And well, Jacob Rafoss has cooked up yet another win in his Racecraft Rallycross career. And now the onus is placed onto the rest of the field to try and find a way to best him. Seems to be a difficult task, though. You'll have to join us for the rest of the season to find it all out. We're off next week for Easter, so we hope you enjoy a week away. We're back with racing action and back-to-back racing action after that until the end of this Racecraft Rallycross campaign. Thank you so much for joining us, for the team behind the scenes, for everyone at Racecraft, everyone at Next Level Racing, and the team at RaceSpot. JP, Justin Prince alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. For now, so long and goodbye, and enjoy getting dirty in the Racecraft Rallycross presented by Next Level Racing World.